Hey guys, it's Spacey Sims, and we are back with more Variable Barricade, and I forgot! Ichiya ran away! And we're all worried him like a dog. So anyway, yeah. Hold on, sorry. I got a text, and I had to look at it. Anyway, yeah, so, evening came. Ichiya still hadn't returned by the time dinner arrived. I glumly looked at the spread of takeout sushi that was set before me instead of his cooking. Hey, Tiger, stop hogging the fatty tuna! Huh, you better tuna up your reflexes and move faster. Tuna up! Your puns, Tyga. Tyga's dad material right now. That wasn't funny. Shut up! Say, Jeeves, this restaurant uses some quality ingredients. I think I like them. I'm glad dinner meets with your approval. Kasuga gave a small bow to Shion before coming to stand beside me. Are you enjoying dinner as well, Miss Spacey? I suppose. Ah, oh well, that's good then. Having heard my answer, he stepped away. Nayuta spoke up, a cheerfully satisfied look on his face. Yum! That was good sushi. I wish we could have all eaten it together, though. I sure hope Ichiya is homeward bound. Nayuta's smile was bright, innocent. I couldn't bring myself to say anything. After dinner, I went up to my room and slid into bed. There I sat, staring at my phone for half an hour. I tried to do as Samugi had suggested and send a whisk message to Ichiya, but even after all this time, the screen was still blank. The only thing I'd typed was the recipient's name. I knew what I wanted to say. That wasn't the issue. The problem was that the things I wanted to say sounded childish or petulant when I transcribed them. What should I say to him? I was tempted to toss my phone to the side and go to sleep, but I kept hesitating. I heaved a sigh and tried once more to think of something to say. Nayuta's worried about you. Why on earth would I tell him that? I'm sorry about yesterday. I'd hurt him badly. Was an apology via text sufficient? Where are you? That came across a bit too clingy. Oh my god, where are you? Nayuta's worried! Hurry and come back home. That makes me sound a little desperate. While my emotions spun in circles, the minutes kept ticking by. I hope you're okay. I don't know. I'm like, ugh! Please get in touch. I typed a message, hit send, and flopped back onto my bed. That's the best I can manage. I rolled over, holding my breath a moment. I brought my phone back in front of my face and checked the screen. The message was still unread. Didn't seem like he was checking his texts. It's like, get in touch. Think, why didn't he respond? It's been like 30 seconds, girl. Is he asleep? Or maybe his phone battery is dead. Or could he be ignoring me? For some reason, the worst answer felt like the correct one. A little shiver danced up my spine. I think it's funny because, like, you know, she's always like, oh god, they suck, and now she's like, Ichiya, no, you can't leave. Like, I've kind of gotten used to him. And obviously it's supposed to be, like, the beginning for their routes, you know what I mean? So it'd be like, if you hadn't done any of them, I mean, you have to do all of them before you can go to the routes, but it's supposed to kind of set up their routes a little, so, like, when you go on Ichiya's route, it's like, oh my god, I was worried about you, because oh my god, I love you, wait. Oh, no. Could I have phrased my message a little better? Was sending him a whisk message a bad idea? Maybe I just made things worse. But also it's like so general that it's like, you care about him as a person. And like, kind of like your friend, like all of them, you're actually getting attached to all of them a little. You know. I laid in bed, battling waves of regret when I heard Kasuga's voice from the far side of my door. Miss, why are you still awake? Lured by his familiar voice, I got up and opened the door for him. I was just about to go to sleep. Have you heard anything from him? Him who? Ichiya! Ah, him? He's yet to return. Are you concerned for him? Look, Kasuga doesn't look happy. The look on his face isn't like, oh, are you concerned? He's like, are you? Kasuga looked bemused. I was speechless for a second. He doesn't look bemused. He looks slightly like he might stab Ichiya. 'Cause he loves us and we belong to him. Damn right we do. worried for him per se. I'm concerned that one of my suitors is spending a night out without permission, which is against the rules. If so, there must be a penalty.
Yes. The penalty is expulsion from the suitor's pool.
What?
Provided he does not return soon. And wouldn't that be most convenient for you, Miss Spacey? I'd mean one less unemployed layabout to deal with.
Well, yes, but
Doesn't that make you happy?
Kasuga's bright grin brought me back to myself. Kind of. I mean, I do love Ichiya, but like, you're my number one, Kasuga, so technically, if all of them left, that'd be great for me, but of course I'm happy about it. Why wouldn't I be? I'm finally free of all those corny pickup lines. Ugh, that would be such a relief. In fact, the thought alone will comfort me as I go to sleep. Good night.
Pleasant dreams.
I managed not to slam my door, but my feet felt like they were rooted to the floor. I couldn't take a step. Expelled from my pool of suitors. Kasuga's words echoed in my head over and over. I should be happy. It was something I thought I wanted. So why did this leave such a bad taste in my mouth? It wasn't shame. I didn't feel apologetic. This was something I hadn't felt before. I let my eyes drop, trying to figure out what was causing the weird weight in my chest. Then slowly I turned my phone and opened up the Wiss app. The message was still unread. Oh, no. Woo! Ichiya must come back. Ichiya ran away! Bistro Ichiya. Ichiya finally returns and, to make things up to me, prepares a one-night-only dream restaurant. I'm assuming that's what we do next. Yes. Okay. Well, because we don't have any other choices, really. He still hasn't checked his messages. I sighed and slipped my phone into my pocket. I'd lost count of the number of times I'd sighed since last night. Feeling gloomy, I mumbled to myself, "You could at least reply to me." Ugh. I'm going to assume this is Ichiya because who else is calling me my sweet? Good morning, my sweet, and what a beautiful sunny morning it is. An unmistakably schmaltzy voice rang out. I mean, come on. I looked up, not sure I believed my ears. Fucking music. You can't hear it, it's too low, but... Like, what is this? Weird, like, 1980s romance show music. Oh my god. I hope you've had a spectacular morning so far. I knew it! Waltzing into the living room with a spring and a step was none other than the source of my recent tribulations. What on earth? Why are you... Didn't you run away? Run away? Ichiya looked at me, clearly confused. I mean, you didn't reply to my Wiss message. What? You messaged me? Sorry, my sweet. My phone battery died and I didn't get a chance to charge it. Where in the world have you been? Actually, could you hold that thought? I've got a rush errand to take. Oh my god, I don't know why that didn't like roll off my tongue nicely. Anyway, I've got a rush errand to take care of. We'll talk later, okay? Still dazed, I watched Ichiya dash into the foyer and slip on his shoes. And as he stepped out the door, and just wait, I'll make tonight a night you won't forget. I mean, promises, Ichiya. The door closed with an abrupt click. I stared at it as I tried to comprehend what just happened. Have I mentioned that I love this game? I really do. It's a lot of fun to read. There's just such a lightness to it. You know what I mean? It's just, it goes along and you're just like, look at this, all these wackadoodle, they're all trash, but I love them. I love it. I don't know. All the characters are great. I don't think I hate a single one of them. Like, have you received any word from the gentleman who, slipped into the night, shall we say? Heard from him? Samugi was smiling pleasantly, unaware that her question prompted a vein to start throbbing in my head. Oh yes, I'd heard from him. He'd returned this morning. He waltzed in without a care in the world. I looked down at my hands and realized my clenched knuckles had gone white. Him? Who cares about him? I certainly don't! Samugi's smile faded into a puzzled expression when she saw my vehement reaction. She's like, okay. I'm just gonna go sit down. Kasuga.
Welcome home, Miss Spacey. Did you enjoy your afternoon of shopping and tea with Miss Kano?
Another day of impulse buying and venting to Samugi. Kasuga was well aware of that too. His sarcasm-tinged smile was not lost on me. It set my teeth on edge. He walked past me, opened the trunk of the car, and observed its contents with a bright voice.
My, it certainly seems like you had a fun time.
I made a perfectly reasonable number of purchases! No, there was nothing reasonable about that number. I knew that better than anyone. Kasuga turned to look at me, still wearing his all-knowing smile. I found something else to look at. I love that he always has the upper hand on us. I kind of love it. He can have the upper anything on me. I'm just saying. I love him. I'm home. I'd barely stepped inside the door when Nayuta came flying into the foyer from the living room, as is expected of the Labradoodle. Yes.
Oh gosh, welcome back. You're home already?
Yes?
You see, stuff kind of happened.
Stuff?
Yeah, and I was really wrong, so a lot of stuff didn't actually happen. So much nothing happened, it was kind of a problem, and,
Did I read that right? I was just going too much. And I was kind of really wrong, so a lot of stuff didn't actually happen. So much nothing happened, it was kind of a problem. That's literally what he said. Okay, it makes no sense. Kasuga cut off Nayuta was flailing around for reasons that were not the least bit clear to me.
Can we please give the miss a chance to go to her room and change out of her uniform?
Oh, right, yeah, changing is good. Changing is important. Go right ahead.
Now, if you please, miss.
Huh? Hey! Kasuga gave me a firm push from behind, steering me up and into my rooms. What in the world got into everybody today? First it was Ichiya this morning, and Nayuta's extra hyper. I changed into normal clothes and went back down to the living room, still confused. I opened the door and... Hey, babe, we were waiting for you. The fun's just about to get started.
Well then, shall we begin? I look forward to having ever so much fun.
Fun? What's supposed to be fun? When they use the word fun often meant terrifying. My three suitors, still smiling suspiciously, dragged me into the dining room even as my heart beat like a drum. Flanked by Shion and Taiga on either side, I had nowhere to go but inside the door, behind which I found Ichiya standing in an apron. Making visual contact with Ichiya usually meant enduring the pickup lines he reflexively lobbed at me. But this time, he didn't say a word. He inhaled, then... First, let me apologize. You were right, Spacey. I was only thinking about how to please normal girls. I hadn't seen you as a person at all. What I did was just pure self-gratification, and I tried to push it all on you. I'm sorry. Ichiya gave me a formal bow and apology. I knew I had to say something, but I couldn't find any words. I was thinking about apologizing to him. We stood there in silence for a few moments, then Ichiya slowly straightened back up. From now on, I want to be sure I'm looking squarely at you. Will you give me the chance to redeem myself? To redeem yourself? I had no idea how to answer that. The other three decided to interject as I stood frozen at a loss for words. So yeah, from here on out, let us run the show. Huh? Come one, come all, step inside our one-night-only super-duper Cafe of Dreams, Bistro Ichiya. Yay! Applause! Applause! I don't know who's saying yay, applause, applause, just all of us. Taiga spoke that part aloud too. Oh, Taiga. Yay! Applause! Applause! Okay. Taiga spoke that part aloud too.
This bistro was opened by Chef Ichiya so he can provide one special young lady with precisely the meals she wishes to eat, correct?
Yep, and just leave it to me. I'll make tonight the greatest feast you've ever had.
Wow, great! Neato! This is super spiffy, isn't it?
Huh? I suppose? I blinked, still trying to wrap my mind around the cooking show suddenly unfolding around me. Welcome, guest. What would you like to order? Order? I did not expect that question. I was left searching for words. Shion looked at me and smiled gently.
This is a magical restaurant where whatever dish you truly wish to eat will be presented to you. Don't be shy. Speak the culinary wish dwelling in your heart.
No pretenses, no polite fictions. Simply what I actually wanted, nothing more. Samugi said I should, too. I took a small breath and then looked Ichiya right in the eye. He was nervous, I could tell that much. Making up my mind, I said, I want Japanese food, please. Something completely normal, completely ordinary. It needn't be fancy at all, just some warm, comforting home cooking and a generous portion of it. Nayuta, clearly waiting for his cue, promptly piped up with a cheerful smile.
Order in, chef! One Japanese dinner to Spacey's liking!
Roger, sit back and wait. I'll have it right up. Ichiya gave me a confident wink, then strutted over to the stove. Did he actually understand me this time? I hoped he did. Desperately. I sat politely at the table, sending frantic mental prayers to whomever was listening as I watched Ichiya. After a moment, Taiga sauntered over. Sauntered over? What the fuck is wrong with me, anyway?
Yeah, the dude's a poser, a schmuck, and a try-hard ding-dong who can't catch a clue to save his life. You know that, right, babe? But he's still giving things as much thought as he can manage. I think he could give him the favor of seeing him for who he is, just for today.
Taiga gave me a crooked smile. I simply nodded in return. Time passed, and soon plates were carried from the stove and piled before me on the kitchen table. None of them were plated in any cute fashion. None of them were fanciful, exotic, or unusual. All of them were familiar, warm, and steaming with delicious aromas. I made the Nikujaga? Nikujaga beef stew a little on the sweet side. There's curried fish, egg custard, and stewed soybeans and seaweed. The miso soup has tofu and wakame. And last but not least, he placed a small bowl filled to the brim with hot, fluffy white rice. Go on and dig in. Thank you for the meal.
Thanks for the food! Itadakimasu!
I put my hands together in polite prayer, still looking at the food spread in front of me. I never expected that Ichiya of all people would make common comfort food like this. Feeling slightly weird about it, I hesitantly took a sip of the miso soup. It was delicious. Not only that, it tasted almost exactly like the miso soup I'd grown up on. The flavor of the broth, just the right amount of miso. I couldn't help but let slip a happy, nostalgic sigh. And to top it off, it had tofu and wakame seaweed, my two favorite ingredients in miso soup. The nikujaga beef stew and curried fish also tasted much like the dishes I'd loved as a child.
And that's quite the look of bliss, Spacey.
I felt a little stab of embarrassment at Shion's words. I ducked my head and concentrated on my plate, my bliss. Next to me, both Nayuta and Taiga had already vacuumed up their first portions. Nearly in sync, they raised their empty rice bowls and said,
Seconds!
And you, Spacey? Ichiya's voice was soft, timid. I paused to think for a moment and then said, Yes, please. I held out my rice bowl and Ichiya's eyes gleamed. He took it over to the rice cooker. When he came back, it was piled high with just a little more than the average serving. Here. Thanks. It was the first time I'd asked Ichiya for seconds. It was a dinner that made my heart as happy as my tummy. How sweet. Good boy. I mean, he wouldn't be worth marrying if he didn't, learn, you know? You smack him in the nose with a rolled-up newspaper and he learns, and then good, that's what we want. After everyone had a chance to eat their fill, Ichiya went back up to the stove. Returning to the table, he placed a small, cute dish in front of me. Oh, little golden chestnuts swimming in plenty of sweet, sweet sauce. And over it all, a sprinkling of distinctive black sesame seeds. Oh my god, he didn't. Oh, why don't you give it a try? At Ichiya's urging, I picked up the little black toothpick and speared a chestnut. I held it up for a moment and then slowly put it in my mouth. Syrup that was sweet but not cloying. The mildness of tender chestnuts, perfectly accented by the syrup's sweet kiss. I knew it! This is Sumiko's candied chestnuts recipe! Sumiko. Is it, close to the flavor you know? How? I was so moved I felt tears prickling at my eyes. Ichiya smiled and ducked his head self-consciously. I heard about Sumiko from Kasuga right after the whole Daifuku cake fiasco in the living room. He told me that you really enjoyed her homey way of cooking, that you were raised on it practically. So I asked him if he could arrange for me to meet with her. I wanted her to teach me the recipes that you grew up loving. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, that's like husband material right there. Look, I love Kasuga, and I'm never gonna not love Kasuga, but like Ichiya points for that. He's like, I want to learn how to make the food you like by going to basically your mom. Oh my god, why is that so sweet? That's like the sweetest thing ever. Stop it. You're adorable. Anyway. And that's why you vanished? I learned a lot from her, both about cooking and about you. Looking up at Ichiya's smile, I said, why go that far? Thank you. I mean, hi, hello, thank you. Why go that far? Bitch, duh. Anyway. Yeah. Romance up. Thank you. The words slipped out of my mouth with an ease that surprised even me. I mean, learning all this from Sumiko in such a short time had to be really tough. I felt like I'd waited an eternity for his text last night, but I'm sure that the time flew by for him while under Sumiko's tutelage. I looked down, abashed, but he only smiled kindly. It was the least I could do. Hurting you like I did is no small sin. I'm glad that my efforts paid off and I was able to make you happy today. Thank you for letting me. Making me happy, he says. I'm surprised he could say that with a straight face. I had no idea what to say next, so I deliberately turned away from him. Though I wasn't looking right at him, I could still feel heat slowly rising in my cheeks. I like to think I know a lot of different ways to please girls of all types. But right now, the only one I want to please most is you. Oh, the one I want to please most is you. And this was the only way I could think of that might work. I'm very, very glad you liked it. I was used to seeing Ichiya's fake, cheesy smiles all the time. But this one was different. It was the most natural, happiest grin I'd ever seen. Something about it was infectious, goading me to action. I took a deep breath and... Ichiya, I'm sorry. I put up a front and didn't try to tell you what I really wanted. Then I blew up at you for not knowing. What? No, you didn't do anything wrong at all, Spacey. It was entirely my fault for...
Okay, yeah, whoa, we get it.
Taiga suddenly interrupted us. He was looking at me with a particularly mischievous smirk.
Go on, babe. Give him a kiss and make up.
What? Huh? Why should I? Is he serious? I desperately tried to contain my confusion while Taiga smiled at me like it was the most natural thing ever.
Come on, babe. The man went to hell and back for you. You weren't earning nothing to reward him a bit.
But,
I suppose Ichiya did make some significant effort. I guess he's deserving of forgiveness, just this once.
No, wait. Really?
Kiss? Like that kind of kiss? Really? They're gonna... Oh my gosh! Oh, shut up.
Ow, Taiga! That hurt! Mayuta rubbed the back of his head where Taiga had audibly smacked him.
You don't mind, do you, babe? Show him that you're a hip and hot woman.
Taiga, please, don't push her. It's rude and you're making her uncomfortable.
What, you don't want to kiss from her?
Well, yes, I'd definitely like that if she was willing to share one. Kasuga jumps in.
Not on my fucking watch!
Anyway, Ichiya trailed off, his eyes slipping over to me and then quickly snapping back. Look at how fucking pink this motherfucker is. He's so embarrassed by it. He's not like, yeah, he's like, oh my god. I suppose Taiga did have a point. Ichiya had done a lot for my sake. I could show a little gratitude for it. In fact, I ought to. Oh, well, okay. Yes, but that doesn't mean you have to kiss him. Right now, I think I could... Okay, I'll do it. Ichiya's eyes popped open in shock. He turned to look at me and then froze. I said I'll give you a kiss. Now bend down, you're too tall. Is there a CG of this? Oh my god, there is! Oh my god, look, he looks so embarrassed! He looks like he's about to fucking explode. She looks like, oh, I'm gonna kiss him on the cheek. Anyway.
Yeah, babe, go for it.
It's not gonna be on the lips, is it? That's too much. It's just gotta be on the cheek, right?
The both of you are much too loud. All your blather is just making her more nervous.
Would they all just shut up? I could blame my nerves on their chatter all I wanted, but it didn't make my heart pound any less. The closer I leaned toward Ichiya, the faster it beat, and the less my body wanted to obey my commands. Just a kiss on the cheek. It's a peck, no more. It's not like I'm gonna kiss him on the lips or anything. I'm totally okay with a kiss on the cheek. Oh. Barricade battle! I do love the CG, it was so cute. Here we go, he's busting down our defense. Right, I forgot I had to click for that. Oh, whoops, I'm sorry, I skipped the button by accident. Sorry. Anyway. Spacey? My lips were only an inch from his cheek when I completely froze up. Ichiya blinked at me, confused. He said, "You don't have to force yourself." Quiet! Chickening out now would shame the Tojo family name! Oh my god, look at his face! Whoa, not bad, babe. Way to go. Oh my gosh!
How cute.
My lips landed against something soft. At the same time, I felt a little of Ichiya's body heat. That flicker of warmth seeped from my lips up to my cheeks and all the way to my hairline. The next second, I snapped back to myself, only to find that I had already shoved Ichiya away from me. My push had made him stagger. He straightened back up and looked at me, his eyes dead serious. Like we kissed him on the cheek and then we were like, fuck! Silence stretched through the room. Unable to bear it for more than a few seconds, I grumbled, "Say something!" Ichiya's eyes took on a faraway look. Ow! That's how Naruto looks when you step on him. And that must be what it feels like to be kissed by a marshmallow. I'm not sure if that's a compliment or an insult. Huh? Suddenly his eyes started to twinkle. I could almost see sparkles glittering around him. I took a step back. Tender lips, breath like an angel's. I'll cherish the memory of that kiss for the rest of my life. Please, let me thank you with a hug. Look at how fucking devious he looks right now. Ichiya held his arms wide and walked toward me. I squinched my eyes shut and shoved as hard as I could. Spacey! Even though he stumbled far enough to land on his bottom with an audible thud, his eyes still sparkled. I put my forehead in my hands and sighed. To my shock, it was a little warm. All it took for him to, like, fucking lose his shit. After that day, meals at the house have been entirely ordinary dishes that you'd find on any family's table. Spacey, do you want seconds? Yes, please! This conversation had become commonplace, too. Hot, steaming white rice and familiar flavors. Now that Ichiya had taken a page from Sumiko's recipe book, literally, his cooking soothed me. Here you go. Thanks. I took the refilled bowl with one hand and stabbed a chunk of stewed potato with my other hand. Is it tasty, honey bunch? Don't forget to chew and breathe. Watching you eat my food so rapturously makes me fall for you all over again. His flaky personality hasn't changed a bit, though. I sighed inwardly, ignoring Ichiya's chatter while I focused on savoring all the familiar flavors of home.
Could you stop being a bastard? You're attacking my headset.
Bistro Ichiya. Ooh, whis! I'm assuming we do that. Yos. Usually. Ichiya. I just read the whis message. Oh, I just read the whis message you sent when I was out. I didn't mean to make you worry. Sorry. It's okay, but stay in touch next time. Sorry, I will. Sumiko's a nice lady. She told me all kinds of stories about you. What? What did she say? That's a secret. Tell me. Do you really want to know? Just tell me! I guess I could. If you agree to go on a date with me this weekend. Spacey? Are you blushing? Spacey, I'm sorry! I got carried away! Spacey? Hello? Spacey? It was nothing important, really. The foods and flavors you like, that's it. I liked it because it felt like I'd learned a secret about you only I knew. That's all! I'm sorry! Whatever, good night. Thank you, good night. He's like freaking out. We go back to the board, I'm assuming, and we do bistro behind the scenes. Behind the scene, Ichiya Bistro. Bistro behind the scenes is the title. But, like, I'm assuming the same thing. Anyway. Okay, we did read that. A tasting session exclusively for guys. Ichiya admits that, thanks to the others, he was able to patch things up. Okay. Several days after Bistro Ichiya opened, serving Japanese food along with a side of reconciliation. Whenever I close my eyes, I can see how happy she looked when she took a big bite of the food I'd made for her. And the surprise and joy in her face as I presented the candied chestnuts hit me right in the heart. But loveliest of all, ever since that day it felt like the two of us had grown a little closer. But I couldn't afford to rest on my laurels. Not yet.
The hell, Ichiya? How many gallons of this damn stew are you gonna make?
Sorry. I just can't seem to get it right.
What's wrong with
Nikujaga, yeah.
What's wrong with Nikujaga beef stew? The ginger pork and the sweet miso radish and the dried radish strips and the braised pork belly are all super yummy. Yeah, I know this is all practice for you, but this combination of dishes, I already have heartburn.
Why not ask Jeeves for some antacids? I'm not eating another bite, though.
You know, Taiga, your tummy complains because you don't eat proper meals regularly. You should eat more food more often. Nom 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 nom. Hey, unlike you, I don't have a bottomless sewer for a stomach. Ugh. You owe me for this, Ichiya. You owe me big time.
Is it raining? No, it's raining. When the hell did that start? All of a sudden, I'm just like, what's that weird clicking noise? Like, because the side of my house, when the rain hits it, like, it hits the windows, because there's, like, not, like, an overhang, and it's like, what the fuck? It's just the sound, like, I'm not used to that. Like, even though I've lived here for a couple months, but still, like, oh, it's always like, what is that? I'm just used to my old apartment. Rain meant my roof was probably leaking, so, like, now every time I hear rain, I'm like, why is it raining? And then I freak out. It's fine. I know.
Still, you're an awesome cook, Ichiya, and I was really surprised you're not good at Japanese cooking. It's way easier than the fancy stuff you usually make.
I don't know, pancakes are pretty fucking easy. You take the box of Bisquick out, you dump the thing in, and maybe you add water, and then you throw it on. It's pretty easy. I never thought Nayuta would be the one to notice. How should I answer this? I can't go digging my own grave by admitting that I focused exclusively on dishes I knew I could perfect. If I worded my answer wrong, I'd set myself up for some relentless teasing. I shrugged, trying to look as natural as possible. Hey, everyone has things they're good at and things they aren't as good at, but what's that matter anyway? Forget about it and eat up. No, don't latch onto that. Just drop it! Shion stared at me, obviously doubtful. I quickly jumped onto another vague explanation. Japanese cooking is pretty deep, you know. There are a lot of steps that you can't master overnight. I mean, just making daishi broth can get really...
It's because it's not popular cuisine with girls. Duh. Huh? Really? Is that why you didn't learn, Ichiya?
Now, Nayuta. You shouldn't pour lemon juice into a wound. It leaves a nasty scar.
I held back a sigh, closing my eyes. Did I talk a little too fast, or did I over-explain while talking too quickly? How did they know?
Why isn't Japanese cooking popular with ladies here? It's all the rage overseas, right?
I mean...
In Japan, it's stereotypical for girls to try and grab a guy's heart with their own cooking. And the most popular recipe for that is Nikujaga beef stew. But if the guy can cook Japanese food better than her, yeah, what girl's gonna like that? Hell, I bet you she'd be intimidated instead of impressed.
Ah, I see.
Shion's laugh was like a dagger to the heart. I tried to recover, tried to salvage the situation. I feel like Ichiya would be really good at narrating an overly dramatic noir film. His laugh was like a dagger to the heart. Like... just feel like you see like the whole noir. She walked in on those legs. Like... Please, don't you dare tell Spacey that!
I don't know. Maybe I will. Yikes! Taiga, you're so mean! Huh. I'd watch your mouth if I were you, Nayuta. If you don't, you won't get a beef bowl tomorrow. Beef bowl? I want beef bowl! Are we having that tomorrow? Why are you getting some and not me?
Wait,
Don't tell me. Yeah, that's right, Ichiya. Tomorrow's lunch had better be beef bowl, or I'm blabbing.
Oh, I think I'd like some potatoes au gratin, thanks.
Huh? Wait, we get to ask for whatever we want? Okay, I want yakisoba and omurice and croquettes and... Whoa! Slow down, all of you, please! My cooking is for Spacey and Spacey alone.
Oh dear, my lips feel especially loose today.
You owe us, bro. Oh! And fried shrimp, too! Sheesh. They sure know how to blackmail a fellow. Everything he says is so noir-y now, I can't get it out of my brain! I sighed heavily. I guess I kind of have to this once. Oh well. If I'd just made some Japanese dishes to her taste, it was still possible she would have refused them. Their presence, their escort to the dining room, everything they did to back me up, that made it work. That let me get one step closer to her. Okay, I surrender. But only on the condition that none of you let this slip to Spacey. Ever! Got it? Not ever!
Okay!
Hey! What's with that mumbled response? I'm serious.
We understand. Are you satisfied?
Yeah, chicks don't dig stubborn guys, you know? Man, I can't wait until tomorrow! I mean it! Completely secret! Reading this one's fun. Oh! Time to choose! Oh! Guys! We might get into Nayuto's route today! Okay, I mean, I'm assuming we have to choose this. Time to choose! My grandfather, Takamune, suddenly summons me, and it seems urgent. Oh no. Kasuga!
Miss Spacey, please pardon the intrusion.
Yes, it's time for lights out. I know.
That's not it. Well, no. That is part of it, but it's not all.
Now this was strange. Kosuga wasn't usually so hesitant. I looked at him curiously. He straightened, visibly pulling himself together. It's gotta be hard for him to think that we're gonna get married to someone else. Someone else is gonna love me and hold me at night, and he just wants to be the one to do it. I want you to be the one to do it too, sweetie. This is hard for me too. I'm in love with my butler.
In regards to your schedule tomorrow, after school is finished, I will be heading straight to Kamakura.
Kamakura. Oh.
I've been informed the master wishes to speak with you.
I don't want to go.
Attendance, I was informed, is mandatory.
It was like he'd read my mind. I sighed. I couldn't ignore him. I knew that. When that meddling old coot summoned me, I had only one choice. Go.
Is that acceptable?
Yes, I'll go. Kasuga reiterated the news. I reluctantly agreed. The next day after school... Spacey, how would you like to join me for some tea? I'd love to, but I'm afraid I can't. I have to go to Kamakura this afternoon. I made no effort to hide my disgust. Samugi grimaced. Kamakura, I presume to see your grandfather? Yes. Apparently he wants to speak with me. Ugh. He always springs these things on me without warning. What does he want to speak with you about? Something that's a waste of my time, I'm sure. Perhaps there's another suitor. Maybe two. Oh Lord, no! Please, no! Just the thought sent chills down my spine. Samugi looked me in the eye and saw the fear there. With the utmost seriousness, she said, You must keep in mind that there is such a thing as additional party members in this world. Additional party members? Yeah, additional party member. Kasuga, right? Game? Yeah? Okay? You and me, same page. I had no idea what Samugi meant by that, but I already knew I didn't like the metaphor. Nah, he's like, you need to whittle this party down.
I hope you had a pleasant day at school, miss. Now if you'd please make your way to the car.
Yes. Kasuga was waiting for me as I stepped through the school gates. He ushered me into the car and we left. What in the world does that vulture want to talk about? The closer we got to Kamakura, the faster my heartbeat sped up. The rain's so weird. Welcome home, Miss Spacey. I'm home.
Where might we find the master?
He's in his chambers. However, I'm afraid that at the moment he's receiving a guest.
Is that so? Miss Spacey, might I ask you to wait a few minutes?
Of course. I answered Kasuga distractedly. My mind was already churning with a new possibility. I wonder, since I have a moment, I'd like to see Sumiko if I could. Is she busy right now? I made a point of sounding hesitant. Kasuga smiled, but it was awkward.
I'll go and check, miss. Could I ask you to please wait in the guest house?
Actually, I'll wait in the gardens.
Of course. As you wish.
As you wish. Both bowed politely and left. I turned my steps toward the garden. Hi. It's so quiet. When I'd lived here not that long ago, I never noticed the peace. The only sounds that surrounded me then were the rush of the breeze, the songs of birds, and the hiss of rain. That was it, really. Whenever I heard the sounds of laughter coming from the main house, I'd get butterflies in my stomach. The silence had been my refuge. But now, after living in that vacation home, there's something missing. Unconsciously, I stopped to think. That's when I heard footsteps approaching me from behind. Master! Master, where the heck are you? Was someone looking for grandfather? A servant, then. But for a servant, they seemed awfully informal. Hey. Who's this daddy? Okay, so that voice should have been...
Master, Miss Spacey, apologies for all that fuss. I wasn't aware you'd gotten back yet.
The man walked around the corner and saw me. His eyes widened as he visibly recoiled in surprise. If he knew my name, that meant he was likely a servant, or an employee of some Tojo business or another, or related to one of our boyfriends! Just like Kazu, who just never is going to tell us he's related to Ichiya. Wait, you have green hair. You're related to Nayuta. Are you his dad? Hey.
Nayuta, is this your daddy? He could be mine.
This sprite's not that the crazy eyes. I'm gonna need to see a better sprite of you. But like the rumpled suit, I mean, you kind of look like a cop. Are you a cop?
Are you a fucking cop?
Anyway. It wasn't unusual for people around the mansion to know who I was, even if I didn't know them at all. Are you looking for grandfather?
Yes. Wasn't aware that you'd arrive yet, Miss Spacey. Afraid you caught me in an embarrassing moment.
It's alright, I don't mind. But I heard that he's currently entertaining a guest.
Really? Funny. I hadn't heard anything like that. Sheesh. That old fella can be such a handful.
Grandfather. A handful. I never dreamed anyone would dare to describe him as such. Is he really one of our employees? Pardon me, but might I ask your name?
Oh, whoops. Where are my manners? I'm the head of the Master's personal security. The name's, oh, that explains how Nayuta got in here!
Are you his dad? Are you related to him? So does Kazu work here too? Did every one of our stupid boyfriends get in here, even though they're trash, because they were like personal favor? And he's like, alright, sure, but you're good. Oh my god, wait. Finale route. Wait, okay. Somehow related to Nayuta and was like, and the grandfather's like, I just wanted to fucking realize that Kasuga's like the perfect fucking man. How do I do this? And security guy's like, I got a nephew who's kind of fucking stupid. He's kind of like a labradoodle. Nephew, son, brother. He's not brother. Uncle. Dad. He can't be his dad. He doesn't look like a dad. Cousin. Whatever.
I know this guy.
And he is like, yeah, take him. No, you, and then, like, Kazu must work here somehow, and is like, my brother is, like, such trash, and then, like, so the grandfather's like, oh, okay, all you guys know trash, you have trash bandos in your family, cool, put him in the house, and then she'll realize, and then, like, we go off and marry one of the other guys, and he's like, that's not exactly how I thought that was gonna go. And, like, his plan just explodes in his face because he literally picked trash from, like, people he knew's family. They were like, I know, I got some trash in my family. And then, oh my god. Cousin? Dad? Uncle? Brother? You're too old. You're like his dad or his uncle or something. Because, like, you're old. You're not... I mean, I guess you could be, like, older brother, maybe. But, like, Kazu seems like Ichiya's brother. That's what I'm going with. So, like, if Kazu is Ichiya's brother, you look a little bit old, like you're supposed to be older. So, like, you're either his, like, older brother. Well, you could be, like... No, because Ichiya's, like, 26 and looks like the rest of them. So, like, if you're, like, 30, that'd be, like, much older brother. You've got to be his, like, dad or uncle or some shit. Yeah, because you know the facial hair? Elderly man. He's probably like 30. Anyway. Oh, the name's, Yes?
Still, it's an honor to see you, Miss Spacey. Didn't hear you'd be in yet. Nope, not a word.
Okay, now he's really suspicious, right? He doesn't want to tell us he's related to Nayuta. So, what was your name again?
Oh, I'm no consequence, miss. Nope, not me.
Please tell me. I insist.
You're not gonna weasel your way out of this. Kojiro! Oh, that's stuck. Kojiro, what are you doing?
It's supposed to be grandfather. A deep voice rang out, and I reflexively suppressed a start. My eyes darted to the side.
It was the vulture.
Behind him, Kasuga walked at a respectful distance. I suspect that grandfather found him before he had a chance to find Sumiko for me. I straightened and greeted him with my usual glare. The suspicious man, however, casually strolled right up to him.
Saved by the bell. Thanks, master. You rescued my hide from the miss here. She's suspicious of me now. Sure would suck if your head of security was arrested, eh? Sheesh. I knew you'd be making trouble. Can you be a little more dignified? Oh, come on, master. Could you just let me relax on my days off at least? You already act like every shift is a day off for you. I can't do the old... Gotta be an old man voice! You already act like every shift is a day off for you!
Because otherwise he sounds like everyone else. It's going to sound like crazy old man voice. There we go. How odd. Grandfather and the man were talking to each other in a totally casual tone. The villain loved nothing more than to make people dance to his tune, and here he was chatting candidly, right? Because he's like, we're buddies, and you got like a shady son, nephew, son, whatever, and we'll throw him in that. I'm just saying, he knows these people, cousins, brothers, sisters, moms, dads, whatever's, dogs, and got these freaking hobos and put them in the house just so we'd realize Kasuga's the perfect man, and then we'd foiled it for 4 times. I'm just saying. That'd be the perfect motherfucking finale. I just really want to marry Kasuga. Is that too much to ask? And I want our grandfather to realize he's the perfect fucking man. And he's like, I wanted you to fall in love with him willingly, even though technically I bought him for you. Because, I mean, like, he's been, like, he's like, we adopted him, and, like, he was only 13, and we kind of child labor, but, like, whatever. And that's why, and then he was, like, your butler, but he wasn't really your butler. He's actually been your fiance this whole time, and then you fell in love with someone else, and, like, yikes. If we marry Nayuta, because we're going down Nayuta's route first, and frickin' Kasuga quits, that's it! You can't tell me that he's not meant to be, like, our fucking, like, fiance, and he knows it, because otherwise he wouldn't quit. I'm just saying, if I lose Kasuga dating any one of these motherfuckers, I'm gonna be pissed. Pissed. Anyway. He must trust this man considerably. Still, it was hard to believe this laid-back man was a professional security guard. Grandfather saw the suspicion in my gaze and gave a little sigh.
Yes, he's the head of my security. Though I can understand why you'd be doubtful.
What is that voice? I don't know. Anyway. I wouldn't have been if he'd simply given me his name when I asked.
Huh? Oh, that. Miss Spacey's just such a pretty young lady, you know. When she asked me my name, I just got shy. I'm a 40-something old fart.
I'm surprised. They only gave him a little bit of eye bags. I really would have expected. He's like, I'm 30. Oh, well, that's why they gave you eye wrinkles. No, 40. Okay. He can't keep his eyes still.
So, right. Master, I just want to let you know that the go board you ordered has arrived. And with that out of the way, I'd best be off. Excuse me.
Okay, so when he gives you that look, he's kind of handsome. Like, Nayuta's like, is he your dad? Uncle? Whatever? He can still be our daddy. That's great. Anyway. Oh, that's creepy. Okay. The man quickly walked away towards the back gardens like he was trying to slip away from my suspicions. Something about him bugs me.
What's with that look,
He seemed very friendly with you. I deliberately took a snide tone, but it bounced off him. He fixed me with an amused smile.
I see. Even a dense girl like yourself can grow a bit if she's surrounded by suitors.
Excuse me?
Before you met them, you barely noticed when people stood anywhere near me, let alone take any interest in how they behaved.
Well, I bit my lip and no more words escaped. Grandfather's voice is all over the fucking place, but whatever. He's only here for plot reasons. My silence wasn't lost on Grandfather. He gave an amused chuckle.
I see you can't deny what I'm saying here.
They have nothing to do with anything. Dried up, gnarled old villain! I gritted my teeth, but Kasuga stepped forward and cut off any reply I might have made.
Master, of the time.
Understood.
The cheerful look on Grandfather's face vanished and was replaced by deep furrows between his brows.
We must talk. Come with me to the main house.
That's not his voice either. His voice is all over the... I'm sorry. I don't know what's happening. Grandfather and I sat in the silent reception room facing each other. Kasuga stood discreetly in a corner, looking goddamn beautiful. Look at him. Just standing there, sexy as fuck in his goddamn sexy fucking butler outfit. Being beautiful. Just waiting for us to realize we're in love with him instead of marrying one of these other chuckle fucks. I still love all of our boys, don't get me wrong, but Kasuga's number one. If I don't get to marry this man, I'm gonna riot. There is going to be a motherfucking riot. And I might cry. If we get to marry him, I might cry out of joy, but if we don't get to marry him, I'm gonna cry like ugly tears. It's probably gonna break me. I'm just saying, I love this man this much. I don't know what is wrong with me. I mean, there's nothing wrong with me. Everything is perfectly right because Kasuga exists. But I don't know why. Anyway. And the fact that he's voiced by Azul is just even better. I try to imagine him talking, and all I can picture is Azul, and it's weird. It's fun. Normally, he would set out tea for the both of us and then promptly step out. But today, Grandfather explicitly told him to remain in the room. Yes, because we have to make a decision, and our decision is, I want to marry Kasuga. That's why he's here. That's what our grandfather wants, but we're not going to be able to do it because it's a locked route until we go through the rest of these chuckle fucks, and then we can finally have our true love. The devastation I'm going to feel when that doesn't happen. I'm just saying. And all the people who know the truth, who are like, ooh, yeah, it's going to suck to be you then. Or like, it's okay, sweetie, you get to marry him. I don't know, don't tell me. This is the one thing, like, sometimes you're like, I spoiled it for myself, but this is the one I don't want to be spoiled, because I love this game so much, and having hope that I can marry Kasuga at the end just keeps me going. I don't want to, if I find out now I don't get to marry Kasuga, I'm gonna cry. There isn't a Kasuga section of CGs, though, so, like, that's disappointing. And that could be telling, but I don't know.
How's your life with your suitors?
I'm not certain how to answer that. They're as loud and obnoxious as they've ever been.
If you had to choose one right now, who would it be?
Excuse me? He's making fun of me again. I readied a scathing retort, but then stopped. He's serious. There was no playful glint in Grandfather's eye. He was asking for my honest opinion. This is where we choose Nayuta, because he's the first route we go down.
Who would you choose?
Grandfather asked again. I couldn't find my voice. I didn't have an answer for him. Not yet. I thought I still had a long time before I had to make a final decision. A part of me had expected that, when the time came, the answer would present itself to me. I had no reason to believe it would work out, but I did. I was not informed that I had a time limit.
I hadn't intended to give one to you, but circumstances have changed.
Grandfather seemingly noticed my confusion. He sighed heavily and began to explain.
I chose the suitors for you because a handful of the branch families were making a fuss and demanding that a fiancé be found for you as soon as possible.
Yeah, he's right there in the corner of things. That made sense. Kasuga told me as much my first night at the vacation house. My relatives had started it, dragging out my father's elopement as an excuse to marry me off. I was angry, yes, but more than that, I was disappointed.
However, that was simply a diversion.
A diversion?
I hear the head of the coalition of branch families made a disastrously poor business decision and lost a lot of money. If that was all, it'd be fine, but the problem is that no one reported this to me. They attempted to cover it up. To do so, they asked a certain gentleman for help. He had a demand, however. You, Spacey. He wanted your hand in marriage.
What? So Grandpa's covering us. So where you're telling me that he's going to be like, you want your hand in marriage, so if you pick one of the suitors and you say, oh, she's already engaged, too bad. Okay, I can't be mad at you for that. You could have just told us. And then I would have been like, well, let's just pretend Kasuga's my fiance. It's perfect.
But you were refusing all marriage offers. The branch family had panicked knowing he couldn't fulfill the man's request, and that's why he demanded you be engaged.
Of all the self-centered, self-serving, I mean, seriously? This other person is basically, like, selling us out, like, rude. And Grandfather's like, just pick one, dude. They dragged out my parents' fiasco as an excuse. They said so many hurtful things. They'd taken advantage of so many people. And now they were just trying to run from it all? That is the worst.
Indeed. Their actions were so suspicious I had an audit done, and it dragged everything into the light. Now I'm under no obligation to dance to their tune.
The expression on Grandfather's face was the sternest I'd ever seen him wear. Confused, I glanced at Kasuga. He nodded in affirmation and explained things further. The fact that Kasuga knows shit, I'm just saying.
Oh, it was merely a deception. There are a number of others who agreed with the branch family head that your engagement must be rushed. Even if we refuse this instance on the grounds of said deception, it wouldn't silence them. They'd merely find other suitors and continue to insist on your engagement. In order to prevent that, the master personally handpicked these 4 suitors and arranged for your current arrangement. That plan is presently succeeding in keeping your relatives from making any further moves.
My relatives suck. You, like, think your grandfather sucks, but your grandfather's actually, like, the only one that's not a douche. Which is funny. What an utter mess. But that isn't what surprised me most. The biggest shock was that the suitors had been thrust into my life as a means to protect me. I mean, they're trash, but they're nice. We like them, right? They're good recyclables, okay? They're not really trash, they're recyclables, but, you know, trash is the easiest thing to say, so. Did Grandfather truly do that? But why those 4? Don't tell me the man who the branch families want to push on me is worse than them.
Yes, he's 30.
I asked hesitantly. Grandfather shook his head. Oh. You know who's an intelligent, capable, and young man who's young and in his 20s and handsome? Kasuga? Just saying.
He is an intelligent and capable young man who's heir to a large corporation. He's young, yet still in his 20s. And to top it off, I hear he's handsome.
It's Kasuga, isn't it? That's the secret. That's Kasuga, and he's just been playing our butler for some fucking reason. It seems really stupid. He's heir to a large corporation, but he's been playing butler since he was 13? Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but, like, at the same time, logic, right?
His family is newly wealthy, having built their fortune in 1 generation, but their momentum isn't slowing. Indeed, they're about to expand overseas.
He sounds like he'd be a perfect match for the heir of the Tojo family. The faces of my 4 suitors formed in my mind. I mean, that man sounds far more capable and a better match than these chuckle fucks. What the hell, Grandpa? An unbearably cheesy marriage fraudster, an insufferably smug gambling addict, a kept man who lived in his own world, a walking debt generator who's more dog than man. I'm really glad they brought that up again. I wish he would have just been like a labradoodle. Why? But if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. Which means this seemingly perfect person must have some kind of unspeakable secret. Yeah, he's been masquerading as your butler. I would laugh my motherfucking ass off. And they're like, we just wanted you to choose him on your own, and you did. Because you thought he was your butler, but it's not. He's really, really wealthy. Perhaps he's cold and cruel? Does he maybe have a twisted personality or some kind of warped hobby that would send a sane person running? No, maybe he's a flagrant womanizer. Maybe this, maybe that? Grandfather grimaced at all my mumbling.
Rein in that runaway imagination, girl. I already had an investigation done on him. Turns out he's not half bad.
What?
Men like him succeed. Personally, I don't dislike him. You know that's high praise.
Then why? The last thing I wanted was to be married off as part of a cleanup effort for someone else's mess. But this was someone Grandfather personally endorsed. Our union would mean a bright future for the Tojo family. Why would Grandfather dismiss a seemingly perfect match in favor of 4 louts? But that wasn't the only thing that bothered me. I steeled myself and asked the question gnawing on me. I don't understand what they have that I don't. Is it better than what the Branch family's match brings to the table? Is it so beneficial that the families will be satisfied if I choose one of them? If it's not, then are those 4 just a handful of pawns thrown into my life to satisfy the families? Is our living arrangement just a farce? Am I a bet? Am I a stupid bet? If that's the case, then it's just not... I blinked and snapped my mouth shut. What on earth? What was I about to say? That's just not fair to them? Strange. Why would I even think that? Who cares what happens to them? The thought of actually marrying any of them made me nauseous. They were loud, obnoxious, tactless. They were brilliantly talented at getting under my skin. And yet... I quieted my thoughts, straightened up, and looked Grandfather in the eye. We're not going to get to Nayuta's route today, because this part's taking a bit, so... If they're just pawns, then I'm being mocked. I cringed inwardly at how hollow my voice sounded. My lies didn't fool Grandfather, unsurprisingly. He grinned, amused.
Don't worry, I haven't set them up as pawns. Each one of them is worthy of becoming a bridegroom. They're foremost suitors in every regard. That wasn't true. Why would I let 4 lusty young men stay under the same roof with someone as naive as you? Even if there's a chaperone on the premises.
Well, that chaperone's the one you gotta worry about. Chaperone? I glanced over at Kasuga and he nodded in affirmation.
And the fact you haven't jumped on such an advantageous match is a sign of your own failings as well.
My failings?
You've been so caught up in your position as the Tojo family heir that you judged possible partners exclusively by whether they'd be a good match for the heir. But you did that only because you had no idea what married life would actually be like. Now that you've lived with your suitors, you know it's not that simple. Now you understand what it's like to love and to live with another person. It's making things harder for you, yes? You can't simply make the most profitable match.
He wants us to actually marry for love. Grandpa's not as bad as they make him out to be, huh? I've lived with another person? Kasuga! Why does everyone exclude him as a person? I had no answer for that. The vulture was right. I had started giving much more thought to marriage since the suitors arrived. Initially, I'd rather have jumped off a cliff than marry any of them. But the more time we spent together, the more I realized they could be kind and decent, too. What would it be like to choose one as a lover? Or to marry one of them? I could actually think on it now. And it sounds... I mean, it's alright, but the best case scenario is Kasuga. But I'm not yet in a position where I can choose.
Well, you've just been placed in that position.
Grandfather cut me off, the stern expression on his face halting my words before they could form.
The man heard from the Branch family head that I'd chosen suitors for you. He came to speak to me directly.
Not Nayuta's relative.
He says that if you've already chosen a partner, he'll withdraw. But if you've not, then he wants to be made an eligible candidate as well.
Alright, can I meet him? And get to know him? I hope he's not the, finale route like I marry him. No, it's gotta be Kasuga!
He even arrived with a neat little presentation on how giving him that opportunity would benefit the family.
Oh, he's a nerd. He came with PowerPoint. Cute. Kinda like it.
He has a big idea about announcing your engagement at our Christmas party in order to drive up revenue. He's an ambitious man, I'll give him that.
Oh my god, is it Kazu? That'd be so fucking funny. But then Grandfather would know that one of our suitors was, Grandfather must have been thinking about their meeting because his lips curled in a wry smile. But the next instant, his face hardened and became stern once more as he continued talking. We're overtime, but it's okay.
He's undoubtedly a profitable match. He'd make an ideal fit as the family heir as well. But it's not you that he wants. He wants the Tojo family heir, nothing more.
Grandfather actually wants someone who wants us, not our title. That's actually kind of sweet for a stodgy old vulture, huh? So he wanted the name, the status, the wealth. I'd long ago steeled myself for the likelihood that my eventual husband would marry me for my title. I'd resigned myself to that even before I met my suitors. And yet I felt something weigh on my heart. It was as if, in the time I spent living with them, that cold, sterile fact got buried in a corner of my mind. This meeting served as a painful reminder.
If you choose to marry him, I doubt you'll be doted on like your suitors do to you now. He's the sort to prioritize work over everything else.
Well, that's good. It gives me more time to have sex with my butler. I mean, spend time with my just everything, Kasuga.
If you accept that and choose him of your own volition, despite knowing that, I won't stop you, but if you still have even the tiniest desire to marry someone you love, you have to make a choice. And you must make it now, or it'll be too late. If you turn down the young man as well as the suitors that I arranged for you, I'll have no choice but to assume you don't want to inherit the Tojo family. Not only that, refusing my suitors will make it much more difficult for me to protect you. I was quite admirable to the idea of you being with a man of your own choosing, you know. Unfortunately, you seem utterly incapable of making that choice.
I choose Kasuga! Why are you not listening? Damn it, old man, put your hearing aid in! Utterly incapable. I couldn't deny it. I'd barely even given thought to the idea until very recently, after all. I mean, I'm only 17, let's face it. That's, way too young to be thinking about this. I told myself that I'd find an appropriate partner at the appropriate time. That's all. When I stayed silent, Grandfather turned to look over at Kasuga, right, the perfect man. He remained quiet, waiting with politely averted eyes. He's avoiding his eyes because he's like, don't want you to marry anyone but me. Same, Kasuga. Grandfather turned back to me and spoke sharply.
If you've no intent to inherit the Tojo family, then run away, or elope, or leave in some other fashion. If that's your choice, I won't push back against it. But if that's not the case, then choose. Now.
I had to make a decision. I had to choose. I considered Grandfather's words when suddenly I recalled something else that he had told me. It was when we'd met shortly after I'd been subjected to my suitor's initial torrent of marriage proposals. That's going to be a long part.
Act while you still have choices to make. If you can't do that, then accept others' choices for you. That's what I want you to learn.
This is exactly what he'd warned me about that day. If I didn't choose one of my 4 suitors, I'd have to accept the partner someone else presented to me. Once I made a decision, there was no turning back. This was the point of no return. I felt like I was being crushed under the weight of the decision. Desperate for help, I looked to Kasuga. Kasuga, if you were in this position...
Do not rely on Kasuga! No matter how much faith you have in him, he's still merely a butler.
Oh! I'm offended.
He cannot make your life decisions for you. Think, Spacey. There's no room for mistakes.
I mean, he's not wrong. He cannot make my life decisions for me. Grandfather glared over at Kasuga, who could do nothing but send me a pained glance and bow in acquiescence. He's right. It wasn't just Kasuga either. I couldn't ask anyone for advice on this. I mustn't. If I did, I'd be making them responsible for my life. I had to make this decision for myself. I had to choose the right one. The man who everyone would accept as a good match for the Tojo family heir. And yet...
Spacey.
Oh.
Hey, babe.
Spacey. I feel like Ichiya is going to be the most crushed when we don't pick him. Everyone else will be like, alright.
Spacey!
The faces of all 4 of them flitted through my mind. My hands clenched in my lap. What's the I can't choose? Make a decision is the answer! And then we jump through route walkthroughs. Okay, well, this is going to go. We're going to go until we get to the route. Okay, make a decision. I took a deep breath, trying to calm the pounding of my pulse in my ears. Even if I did choose one of the suitors you provided, will the branch families accept the choice? Especially considering the position they're in. Nayuta is the thing. Okay, so. The results of Grandfather's audit on these people was not flattering in the least. In fact, the suitor they were proposing seemed stellar compared to their rash, bumbling selves. Grandfather must have scented my concern because he didn't sound the least bit worried.
Indeed, their position is, on the surface, quite bad. But that's irrelevant. The 4 suitors I presented all have qualities that'll be of value to you. Even if the branch families make a fuss over your choice, I can silence them with that.
The qualities they have, things they have that I don't. I'm opening my hand. Even now, can I not ask you to tell me what those qualities are?
I promised them that you'd not hear it from me. And besides, it's important to observe people as themselves, outside of their titles and families, especially when choosing with someone with whom to share your life.
Okay, so we think Nayuta's whatever, but they all have actual. So that's it'd be oh, this is just some schmuck over here, this poor dude, and you're like, well, I kind of like him, and then it's oh, actually, he's a billionaire. You know what I mean? Common route, you must get that compare in case someone else. Okay, so no. Start a new game. Choose skip until the time to choose. Okay, cool. Make a decision. I'm just opening his guide, so. Anyway.
Get to know those 4 well enough, and their qualities will make themselves apparent to you. What you think of them after that is up to you.
This is the longest part in history, because Grandfather won't stop talking. Look, I'm ready to make my decision. Let's go. Up to me. What would I feel once I truly knew all that there was to know about them? I couldn't even imagine. But a part of me was at least a tiny bit curious. If I were to choose someone right now, would that honestly set them in stone as my future husband?
Well, I personally wouldn't mind if you chose that.
All of a sudden, Grandfather smirked.
But I'm well aware that you've only just begun to understand them and who they truly are. The purpose of today was to have you express your willingness to make a choice. Pick one and I'll have him announced as your fiancé. For the moment. However, in order to make certain the best possible candidate's chosen, the other 3 suitors will remain, allowing you to judge them with all appropriate gravity.
Oh my god, can we route hop?
That's what we'll tell everyone, at least. If we say that much, the Snoops and the Branch families won't have any ammunition left. Ha 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 ha!
What?
This is, in effect, a convenient excuse to get out any pesky marriage interviews and buy you time. If you decide you don't like who you pick, well, that's that. Ha 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 ha!
Grandfather's laughter rang out through the room. Cheerful, happy laughter. Then why on earth have you been so solemn until now?
Ho-ho! So you're not amused, hmm? After I went to all that effort to put on a convincing performance, sure made the gravity of your situation clear, yes? I even did you the special favor of preparing an escape route for you this time, too.
Performance? Special favor? Meddlesome old coat?
Besides, you're dense enough I'd reckon I'd have to go this far to shake any sense of romance you might have awake. See? I'm a considerate and kind grandfather.
In the shadiest, douchiest way, but not untrue, I guess.
From the reports I've read, you treat them like a group of friends with too much free time on their hands. Or like cousins on an extended visit. You're supposed to be trying to view them as potential romantic interests. You can be such a hopeless case at times, girl. Oh well, now that you're taking one on as a potential fiancé, you'll have to think of them in a romantic context. Cleverly done, if I do say so myself.
Kind of like how he's all up on his shit. He's great. Grandfather nodded, looking entirely too self-satisfied. I felt a vein by my temple begin to throb. Can we just pick Nayuta already? This is going to be an hour-and-a-half long part. Kasuga, miss, what sort of report are you sending?
A detailed recounting of everything as it happens.
The traitor! I stared at Kasuga furiously. Grandfather, however, was growing impatient. He smirked at me.
Enough stalling, girl! Go on and choose a temporary boyfriend! Go on now! Pick one, anyone!
Give me a minute!
Oh, stop dragging your feet! You can decide these sorts of things on a whim! Go on! Say whichever name comes first into your mind to be done with it!
Ah! My thoughts spun. The first face I saw in the storm was... Where's Kasuga? We picked Nayuta. Here we go! Nayuta's route! But, I'm gonna choose it, but I feel like we need to stop, because I had to stop the recording for a second, but, we're, an hour and 12 minutes, aren't we? It's, almost an hour and 50 minutes.
Now that I have this, I can protect you without worrying about anything else, Spacey. This charm will protect me, so I can put all my focus on protecting you. What? Why? Please, you gotta believe me. I'm pretty good, you know. You can lean on me, whatever. I'll be there for you.
I'll take Nayuta.
Oh?
He's a massive problem child with serious attention issues, but he tries. He really does. I can't see him ever betraying me. Besides, I like border collies. Grandfather watched, clearly amused, as I mumbled my hasty reasoning. After a moment, he silently stood to leave.
Okay, I'll communicate this to the branch families. Kasuga, take care of the rest if you please.
Understood, Master.
The screens closed and Grandfather's steps faded. Once I could no longer hear them, I sighed as all my strength deflated from me in a rush. But at the same time, an indescribable feeling danced along my nerves and swept up through my body. Ugh! What in the world was all that? Driving me into a corner like I was a game piece? Kasuga grimaced, walking up to me as I groaned in frustration.
I'm sure you must be quite worn out now, miss. Shall I pour some fresh tea?
Why weren't you an option? I think I want some air instead. The end. Finally. Sigh, I'm tired. I am too. Like, this part's like an hour and a half. Not quite, but like still. It's like way too long. Sorry, but like we had to get through that. So we'll basically, I mean, I'm not sure if this little is like the end of the common route. You know what I mean? I'm sure this is still technically the last common route chapter, but we will definitely be finalizing this and then starting Nayuta's route in the next part. So yeah, I will see you guys next time. Remember to give the video a big thumbs up and subscribe to see more.